Hello and welcome to another edition of the Spare Time podcast. This one's a little bit different because, as you know, we're wearing these.
Good stuff.
Spare Time podcast is now sponsored by ADR Wear, so we'd like to thank them very much for their support of the podcast. So you're going to see a lot of their, you can see a lot of their activities and clothing. And Ben's now you've got a bowling shirt, haven't you?
It is. It's good. It's on Instagram. Go check out my Instagram. It's in the description. Go check it out. Plug for myself. Also ADR stuff down there as well. But obviously, we'll have a good guest this week. It's one of my good mates. It's Dan Harding. ESBT winner.
Not yet.
Future EBT winner. But obviously, thanks for coming on the podcast. Firstly.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you.
I think we'll start off since I mentioned EBTs. You've been bowling EBTs last year for you. Was that your first year bowling EBTs?
Yeah, I didn't play like a full tour, but I played as much as I could because of like EYC and Triple Crown and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of my first taster in adults.
Yeah. So I mean, firstly, how did you get into bowling?
It was a bit weird. Like, it was my brother's old ex, and her cousin, I think it is a bowler in England called Abby Jagger. She lives down the road, or used to anyway. And her dad told me to go to this YBC one time and thought I was pretty good off like some birthday party, as everyone does, it's just a birthday party. And it kind of just went there. The coaches thought I was pretty good, so at the start, so they kind of just helped me throughout, and it was really, really helpful.
Mm-hmm. So what was your sort of first? I mean, I know me and you personally, like, we're sitting up to like stupid o'clock in the morning watching like PBA stuff. So we both like PBA a lot. When was your first time sort of seeing the PBA, and what did you think about it?
The first time I saw like the PBA, I guess, wasn't really seeing the PBA on like YouTube and that. It was kind of like the Weber Cup. So the Weber Cup, like, I got told about it by my coach at the time, and he was like, "You should go watch it." And I was like, "Okay." And then I heard loads and loads of people talking about it. Like, I heard Jack Barwick and so many people talk about it. So I was like, "All right, let's go watch it." It was free, so at the time it was free. So I was like, "Yeah, awesome." And I saw Dom Barrett play. I saw Tommy Jones, Mika Koivuniemi, great players. And I was like, I want to be here. I want to do this. Like, I can do this. I'm young. And I was like, I'm young enough to do it. Let's just do it. It's no brainer.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's the same with me. And a lot of the youth bowlers now in England, especially, we all, especially like sort of people that have been around like around 10 years now. We all ended up going to watch the Weber Cup once or twice, and that's how we kind of just like, yeah, now we want to do this. And I think that's what a lot of people nowadays are missing, because Weber Cup, it's not here anymore. So a lot of these people are going to get the chance to experience something like that.
Yeah, I think the closest thing we've got now is that is it USA versus the world thing, but unfortunately it's only in the USA right now. But yeah, fair play. Like, that's awesome. It allows like people like Belmo and Sam Cooley and all that to come in, and I think that's what Weber Cup was missing, was the bigger names from Asia and things like that, and over that way in the Pacific and things like that. I think that's just gonna be awesome, and it is awesome.
With training and competing at such a high level, how do you balance that with your personal life?
Probably most people tell you like they have their ways, but I don't. Like, I kind of don't really have a personal life as per se. Like, I'm always training, always bowling, and then I'm at home sadly researching bowling balls and looking at videos of how to get better. Like, not videos of how to get better, but like seeing why the pros are doing something on tour, or doing one thing over another thing and things like that, and trying to pick out those ideas. So like my girlfriend, she knows like I have to bowl, and this what I want this to be my living. So all this time I'm putting in now will then be allowing me 15, 20 years, 30 years down the line to go, yeah, let's go to, I don't know, Barbados or something. I don't know. Like, and she understands that, and I'm very thankful that, and very lucky to have that.
I think it's fair to say that you live and breathe bowling, and
Yeah,
it's like any sport, to get to the level that you want to achieve, it's got to be an integral part of your life. It can't just be something that you do. It's got to be, every day. It's got to be something to do with bowling. And I mean, I know Ben is, he's pretty much like that. It's bowling is everything, and to achieve some of the successes that you've had, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifices, and people see the results, but they don't see all the work that goes in behind it.
yeah. I think once you get to it sounds bad, but once you get to a certain level, like once you get like the top echelon of the youth events and up into the adults, it's all kind of the same, and they kind of respect the effort you put in, because once you put the effort in and you get it out, you see that, they start respecting it, and they'll be like, yeah, okay, this is fair play. Like, he's training just as hard as everybody else, and it's a normal thing. But I think when you're younger, training so much, like at Ben's age and younger, it's a bit of like, why are you taking it so seriously, and like, but then you also get the other people who are like, oh, well, that's awesome, like that's awesome you're doing that. And it's always a case of like, I don't know if you've watched it, the Netflix series on like Serena Williams and that, and her sister Venus. The amount her dad got them to train, and what they pushed them to do, that was like, yeah, okay, like they do that, and look where they are now. Like, if you do that, you get it out.
I think it's sort of, I know for me, especially like this past season itself was a huge eye opener for me, because for me it was always a case of I practiced. Before I was like playing 3 or 4 times a week. Now I'm more like 5, 6 times a week, where I'm playing most of the time, and especially now I've started speaking to people like you and obviously Sean, Colin, or just other bowlers in general who are at a higher level, and started speaking to these bowlers, and especially like from France and stuff. It went from a case of, oh, you bowl 5, 6 times a week. That's like, why are you bowling that much? To, oh, that's what we all do nowadays. And I think the step up in the people that I've now started spending time with, not only me as a bowler has sort of pushed me forward, but it's kind of made me realize that, I'm not as sort of sitting there going, oh, well, no one else is training this hard, because I now know that the bowlers at the level that I want to be at, or the bowlers who are at my level going to the places that I'm going to, are all doing the same thing. And we all, we've all sacrificed like a ridiculous amount. And it's a case of, social lives and parties and stuff just doesn't happen for us. It's kind of a case of, if we want, we all know what we want to do. We all know we want to make the PBA, and we all know that we've got to do more than anyone else does.
100%. And I think the way bowling's gone, in aspect of how the level of bowling has gone up, has also increased everybody's perspective on training. And I think everyone's training like 4, 5 times a week, so on. Some people train less and have that natural ability to stay at the top level, but some people train more because they feel like they need to. But I just think if you train like a steady amount every week, and you train on the stuff you need to train on, and you do properly, it shows in your in like your tournaments and things like that. 100%.
And when you started bowling, some of the lads you were at school with just said, "Oh, what are you doing that for? You'll never get anywhere doing that," didn't it?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think bowling's one of those sports. It's quite weird. And I said this to you the other day, because I was on the phone with you when the text came through, and there was some kid from primary school that I hadn't spoken to in like 7 years, and I mentioned that I just made Team England, and the kid's kind of like, oh, like it's fun. Like he sort of said like, oh, trying to take the mick out of it, and like, oh, it's funny that you did that, and you're literally throwing rocks and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, there's a career and there's a future to it, and a lot of people kind of write it off as, oh, it's just this random stuff. But I think what a lot of people don't understand is there's this huge world with a massive amount of potential to make a career, make full-time earning from it. And I think what a lot of people see is, oh, well, this guy bowls. One, that's a bit weird. But then they also sort of go, why is this kid spending 6 days a week in a bowling alley doing something that's literally just throwing a ball? Because it's so underappreciated in our country, a lot of people don't sort of see the sacrifice. I mean, if you say if a footballer makes Team England and they make the England squad, everyone's like, whoa, that they must be really good at the sport. The huge dedication. Where if a bowler in England or America or any country in the world makes their national squad, I think primarily in England as well. I can't speak for different countries, but people sort of look at them and go, well, yeah, but it's bowling.
Yeah,
So,
no, 100%. And it's like, I guess if you train 5-6 days a week in football, everyone's like, oh, okay, that's standard. It's just because bowling's not a massive sport, but it is in countries like it is in like Europe, mainland Europe, and in Asia, and over in the States. But in England, it's tough. Like it is tough to. It's not like it used to be. But we still have those bowlers who were from that time or were about just coming after, who we can learn off and things like that. And I think that when they say train hard and you'll see results, yeah, 100%. Like people can laugh as much as they want, but when you're buying your family a house, buying them a Lambo, what are they gonna do? Like they're a Peugeot. Like you're happy. You do what you want to do, and that's it. If you want to go play snooker, or if you want to go play, I don't know, badminton, just do what you want to do and make fun of it. Man. Like 100%.
I think we said this a lot to each other, sort of the case of all these people kind of like, writing off about the fact that you're doing this and you're doing, oh, this is weird, it's weird. Well, like, I think the issue with a lot of people is they don't want to start taking it seriously, almost to be kind of the people of, oh, why are you doing that? That's a bit weird. And I think I'm sure you've probably experienced it as I have, where a lot of people sort of go, you're a bit weird for like, sitting there bowling all the time. Like,
Oh yeah.
But the way I look at it is, one, I'm quite tough-skinned anyway, but it's a case of, well, in 5-10 years' time, when you're working your normal job and you're sitting at a job that you don't enjoy, I'll be carting off to like America, Dubai, doing whatever and doing what I love, making money from it.
100%.
A huge portion of like what we do is, we do it for fun, but we also get to a level where we know there's potential to make a career. And
Yeah.
we've seen from, maybe your parents or other people who end up being unhappy, and you're thinking, well, I want to put all my time into this to make sure that I can do what I want to do and enjoy it.
Yeah, like 100%. Like if I don't know, you want to do anything and you put your effort in, 100% in, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more. If you put 25% in and you don't enjoy the thing, then why are you there? It sounds bad, but yeah.
I mean, you've obviously got a lot of victories and quite memorable occasions. Is there anything else within bowling that created a special memory for you that wasn't a victory? Because I think we do so many different events in so many different places, and it's not just the victories that are memorable. There's other things. So, does anything stand out for you?
I think EYC this year in Vienna was honestly one of the best things that has happened to me bowling off the lanes, just because of how like the team was and how the atmosphere was, how much support and everything. There's that. All the times I've been around with Sean bowling and spending a lot of time with him and knowing that he's always like he's one of my best friends. And then probably like my like having my girlfriend now, like traveling for the last like year or so, being like there to support me, I guess, and like off the lanes mentally and physically. Like she's really helping me stay like centered, and I'm not stressing off the lanes, and I take myself away, and I think that's really helped a lot.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously, like you said, when you sort of take yourself away when you're not on the lanes, when you're not bowling or practicing or doing something like that, what else are you normally doing?
To be honest, I'm sat at home playing games with like you and Sean and Adam.
Blood
And
defense, innit?
yeah, a bit of blob defense, at 3 a.m. But if it's not that, I can't lie. I don't ever stop thinking about bowling. So I'm still watching the PBA events. I'm watching as always. I try and find videos from Norm Duke, Walter Ray, things like nothing that like I'm gonna like matters now. like what's happening now. I love watching the old stuff just to see when you go into a bowl or something and you're like, yeah, this generation isn't like Walter, isn't like Norm, isn't like El Anthony and Albie. I'm like, what are they all about? Let's watch it. I'll watch that stuff and I'm like, yeah, they're not wrong. These are insane players. Like their accuracy is second to none. I know we have accuracy, like everyone has accuracy, but I love watching them. Yeah, the touch and everything. It just makes it look so fun.
There's when you talk about Norm Duke, there's Norm Duke is famous for his half-board movements, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people now who go half-board movements, but I'm yet to meet a player who in this generation I can comfortably sit and go, yeah, he'll make a half-board movement and it'll make sense. Like some people are like, yeah, I'm making a half-board movement, but it's not making much of a difference. I think Norm was one of the few players that I actually know of that could make a half-board movement and actually make it at the right time.
Yeah, I think one of the best things, or one of the good stories, actually, to be fair, I was playing in the Welsh Open back in 2022, and it was one of my first blocks, and I was struggling. I kept like making those like half board moves and whatever, thinking I can do it and thinking it makes a massive change. And I think it was Matty Clayton came up to me, right, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm making these half-board moves and it's still tapping. He said, you're not good enough for that. Like, you're good, but you're not good enough to make these half-board moves and change 15, 20 pins down lane and change your angle this much and do this and this. You're not that good yet. That comes after years and years of experience. So make that board or make that 2 boards move, 3 boards move. And after that, I've only gone this way because I'm not overthinking these little moves. And people like Norm, who are these that good, you got to think about how long they've bowled to get there. Like Norm, I don't know how long Norm's been bowling for now, but when he started getting known for those half board moves, he'd already been bowling for 20 years, 25 years. It's not easy to get the skills and the tricks. It's easy to get from the foul line to the approach. From the approach to the foul line. There we go. I got my words out. But to learn the little tricks, like change your hand rotation this much or do this on this, but switching it on and off and turning on, that takes years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so obviously, there's a lot of bowlers who would sort of look up to like the likes of you and people who are out there now competing in Europe. So what like aspects of being a well-known bowler do you kind of find most rewarding for you?
I don't really know because I don't feel like I'm a well-known bowler, to be honest. I just feel like maybe in the younger generation, like my era, yeah, like people know me. But when I go to an EBT, it's like I'm another guy, I'm another bowler, and that's what I like. Like I go in, I say hi to the people I know. I say hi to Yord. I say hi to like the bowlers I speak to a lot and things like that. I speak to Nate Garcia over in America. Like I say hello to people, but I go sit down, get ready, and that's the great thing. Like I think being young and loads of people knowing you, that's cool. Like that's awesome. Like 16, 17, 15 even. It's like, yeah, I'm the guy. Like cool. But now I love the fact that I can just sit, bowl, have a beer, watch people, and just love life, Like I'll finish my block. They'll go, how was your bowl? I'll be like, oh, okay, I had what, 1370 or 1480 or whatever the score is. And they will either go, yeah, well done, or all right, next block.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how it is.
So obviously, we've all been in a lot of places. I mean, you, me, people that travel in general. England is if you say you've been in England, by the way, I will just shut you up because you're lying. What's the favorite? What's the favorite place you've ever? I mean, we could do centre. What's the favorite centre you've ever bowled in? And what's your favorite city you've been to with bowling? I mean, for me, South Point and Vegas just tops it. But you've been to some more interesting locations.
It depends on your reasoning. So, like, if I said like my favorite centre, like just to go to, and if I could do it all day every day, is Reims in France. Like that place, or sorry, Saint Maximin in France. Insane. like it's catered to bowling. It's a bowling life. It's unreal in there. If it's memories and winning and things like that, Vienna. Like Vienna was awesome. And then my place I'd love to be, like the place outside of bowling, has to be Wittgenstein Moorhouse. Like that place is just like a Disney film. Like it's crazy. It's like kind of like wallpapered up outside walls and stuff. It's really weird, but it's really cool. Not cheap though.
I think you mentioned the bowling alley in Reims in France. I mean, when we did the promotion tour a few months ago, one of the things that struck me was the quality of the centres in France. I wasn't expecting that. I was just expecting them to be pretty much the same as in the UK, but just the whole thing. There was just so much better quality centres. No, I'm not, and I'm obviously I wasn't bowling, so I'm not talking about in terms of the lanes or anything like that. But just the centre itself. There was, especially the one in Rennes that we were in. There was a lot of people just going there just for a night out, and I don't mean sort of teenagers like you get in the UK, but
Yeah,
older people older than me, were just going there for a night out, having a few beers and things like that. There was a very social atmosphere around it, and it just seems like bowling in France is much more of a social thing than you have here in the UK, really.
yeah. I think in France there's a different type of culture there for bowling, even at what we do and off, like in open, like people world and people like that. Like here, you have, I don't know, some 16, 17-year-olds getting kicked out every other day because they've done something in the arcade, but they don't have arcades in, well, so the centres I've been in, they don't have arcades, or it's like tucked away. Um, Kind of when I go into a centre in France, I look around, I'm like, yeah, this is a bowler's bowl. Like the bowl is catered to bowling. Like everything off the lanes is like the add-ons, you know what I mean? Like the bowling, like when I went to St. Maximin, it was like £7.50 for unlimited, all dressed. But then you go to the bar and it's like £7.50 for a beer. That's how they make your money. But the bowling alley, the bowling lane is what they do, and that's what they are make their money on. I think, yeah.
I was speaking to a centre manager here, and he said that in a particular bowl I was speaking to him, and he said that they make as much money, if not more money, off the arcades than they do off the bowling. So it's interesting that happens in the UK, but I wonder what the differences are in France, because obviously it must work financially for them. How can they do what they do without the arcades? And I think you're probably right. I mean, the arcades are. They serve a purpose, but it changes the dynamics of the bowling centre, and because you didn't really get that in France, it makes it. I find it personally, probably because of my age, but I find it makes it a more civilized place.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like I was sat at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the bowl, went to bowl my squad, having an espresso, and there was just no noise. But that's casual. Like they opened the doors. Like I was sat outside, very, very cold. Like it was like -2 degrees, but they opened doors. They come in, have a drink. We came in, sat down, had an espresso, watched them do the lanes, and it was just like a bowler's bowl, and they just respect bowling, and that's why I can't understand why not all places in England, like you've got all like places in England are good, like we have to do what we have to do on the lanes, and that is what it is. But the arcade and that, it I can see why it makes so much more money. Like how much younger people go into bowls in France, into England, sorry, instead of France, is insane. Like you get like 11, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds in England, where they may be 15, 16 in France. It's very weird. Like you never see a super young kid in France bowling. But I haven't anyway.
A huge part of it is that I saw is just the density of bowlers. I mean, like in England, you might have I know obviously 30, 40 years ago it was a completely different scenario, and you filled it out. In America, for example, there's hundreds of league bowlers in each area. In my area, there's maybe 50, 60 bowlers, maybe 70 if you're lucky, that bowl over every league. Where when we went to I think it was Rennes, we did like a pro-am where we ended up having some locals from I think it was either Ren or Ongers, come on and bowl with us while we were bowling our block on the promotion tour. And they just filled the bowling alley out. It was almost like in England, once you get to 18 or 21 or whatever, and you leave your YBC, that's it. Team's done. You know, you'll have your counties maybe, and you'll have Team England, but other than that, there's nothing. Where in France, they had like sort of bowling clubs for adults. They had like BCSO Club of All. They had one as well. So they sort of had like bowling teams that went to events, but they were adult bowling teams, and I think it made a huge difference that all these teams kind of, you know, they literally could fill the bowling alley with this team, where in England it wouldn't happen.
It's just a different culture. I guess it was all. I don't really know how France have stayed like over after COVID. Like COVID really did damage to a lot of places. Like England, we lost a lot of bowlers because of COVID. It's understandable. You don't really want to go back if you've bowled. Like I almost didn't come back after COVID. Like I understand it, but in France, it's just they have such a community there. I think in each area, and because France is so big, when you have those centres like that, are, like kind of localized in a big region, like all go there. Everybody like socializes, and that's how I think it really gets picked up.
You've been bowling for a lot of years now. Do you find, is there anything that you've learned in bowling? Any lessons you've learned in bowling you find you can use in your normal sort of non-bowling life?
Patience. Patience is a massive one. Just stay like sitting back or like standing back and going, okay, this is happening, and then I can take that away into like real life and be like, okay, well, my life is like this, and I can do this, I can do this, and I think in bowling that's really helped me out, like outside of bowling, because I can like I sit back and go, okay, the lanes are doing this, this, and this. I need to do this, this, and this. But then I go off the lanes or into my normal world. I'm like, okay, if I go get coffee now, I'm gonna be this, 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 and like, you know what I mean? Like it's really, really helped me, and being patient, humble, respectful, everything, man. Like everything. I think bowling's the best social aspect of it is crazy. It's the best thing I think bowling is, because everyone's in such a small space bowling. You can't really ignore someone and go, yeah, nah, I'm good. Like if they say hi to you, you can't ignore them because you're gonna see them back 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. It's sort of like you can't. It's one of, yeah. I see what you mean. There's a lot of people that I've sort of spoken to and gotten really, really close with, and then someone will go, "Oh, how did you meet?" I'm like, I have no clue. We just did, and I think being in a bowling league, bowling like 6, 12, 8 games with people, especially in England when your lanes are breaking down half the time, you end up socializing a lot. But sort of moving on to your career, like in yourself, you know, literally you started bowling for England at 13. What was it like getting the call up at 13, and what was it like first?
When I first made England, it wasn't really a call up. It was England trials. So it was like 16 games in a day, trials. Things like top so many make it, you know, like out of the team and that. And I think I finished like third or fourth. I can't remember. But that to me, I was like, so I can compete with these guys for 16 games straight. And then I was like, oh, and I've made Team England. Oh, this gets even better. Like this is unbelievable. Like at 13, making Team England was that's what I wanted. That was my step. That was like, okay, my goal is now at some point to make Team England, and I did it at 13, and I was like, that's insane. Like, I just couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I even cried at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I've not bowled for England yet. I mean, I've just been picked, but hopefully, one day, next year, maybe a year after, it'll be me on that spot. But
Keep grinding, 100%.
You had some ridiculous success bowling for England. I think this generation has youth bowling for England we've always done quite well, but I think we haven't done this well in a little bit. And you were a big part of that. What was it like? Obviously, medaling for England over your time bowling, and more recently when you did Masters for EYC last year. What was that like, and sort of what did you take away from it?
Well, for instance, like every medal has its special moments. You know what I mean? Like Triple Crown this year, we broke the game record. That was a great team. EYC when we got that medal, the team atmosphere, the chemistry and everything we had, they all just clicked and it worked. That was great. And the Masters, well, it's weird. Like when I was bowling, I didn't really think about it. Like I was just bowling, and when I kind of worked out, I won a medal. I was like, I've done what came to do. Like I've come here to get myself a Masters medal. Like I wanted to make Masters the first year, and stay close, and I wanted to get as much medals as I can. And then the second year, I was like, okay, we've prepared for this well. And then when we got that team medal, I was like, okay, now I've got to lock in. I've got to lock in, get this done. Let's get this Masters. And then I was like, so I'm 10th right now. What do I need to do? And then I got to 8th. And I was like, oh, okay, I have a chance here. Like this is gonna be good. And I ran the ladder. Well, I didn't really run the ladder, but I ran 2 Swedes, which felt like running the ladder at one point, because the Swedish are just different level of bowling.
I mean, playing Swedish bowlers, it's scary.
Oh yeah, and when you're playing somebody who just won a world championship, like youth world championship thing, in Robin, and Emil, and then playing Kevin, who's just different gravy.
Yeah.
Like, he has the mental game that I had to learn quick after him. Like I had to learn why he beat me and how he beat me, and it was just his mental game. He just stepped up.
Swedish bowlers are interested to play because they could be winning by 150 or losing by 150. Their reactions are the same. Although, however, we must say, and you know, we've watched this back hundreds of times. You played someone, I can't remember who it was you played, but it's a Swedish bowler, and it did get a bit tasty. What was the atmosphere like behind that match?
The first one or the second one?
The crotch chop ones.
Oh, the first match against Emil. Yeah, nah, that was good. Like the first game, I did well, and then he came back a bit, and he started giving it a little bit. So I was like, all right, I'll give it back to you. You know, you got to give a little, take a little. You know, it got really tense. I think when it was halfway through the third game, he split, and that's when it got like, okay, I need to jump on this one. And I'm glad I did, but it was just tense after game one. To be fair, after the first 5-6 frames, it got tense. Like the atmosphere behind the lane made it even more tense because of how loud it was. Like you had the Swedes, and I always will be grateful to this day. I had England, I had the whole of England behind me. I had Scotland, Ireland, Germany, Dutch, French. I had everybody. I was so lucky to have that, and it was so loud, so loud.
Since obviously you've been modelling for England for a while, I think we can open it up to just in general. What's been your most challenging event, and what was the story behind that?
Probably EYCs. Like my 2 EYCs. It's trying to understand like my mental game like at those events. So I step on the approach, or I step on the concourse just before about to start. I look over, I see 6 guys who are just as good as me. I'm like, wow, okay. And I see another 20, 30 guys, and they're all the same. Like we're all there, best of our country, and it's like, oh wow, okay, this is gonna be a tasty match. It's gonna be tasty. Like you gotta respect them, and it's difficult to go. It sounds horrible, but like if you gotta respect your players, you gotta respect your opponents, but you don't want to respect them too much to go be like, oh yeah, if you miss a 10 pin, it's okay. Like nah, you got to strike every time. You got to strike every time, and I'm not saying you have to every time, but like it'd be great if you did shot 300 every game. But but You got to keep your frames close and trying to keep your physical and mental games so on tact for I don't know how many days, 7 days, or whatever it is in a row. And at that event was very difficult.
Mm-hmm. So mental is a huge part of it. We spoke to Russell not too long ago about it, about mental game, and I think for everyone it differs in importance. But I think especially in the elite levels, it is remarkably important. I think it's so underrated how important it actually is, and that's kind of the message we try to push out there. So I'd say for you, how important is mental game for you? And what advice could you give about mental games to improve it?
Well, when I was about 14, 15, I went to a sports psychologist because my mental game wasn't good. And I found out ways to how to relax myself, how to breathe, how to stay in the moment at all times, and just really lock in. The way I feel with mental game of your psychological game is you have to have it, or you're not going to get past with your physical game, because you gotta keep this way. You gotta keep your head in the game, every game. Like you got. I think I watched a documentary recently from Belmo. He was like, the worst thing he did was not respect every frame, and I was like, oh yeah, I need to start doing that. Respect frames. Like if you split, take one. Like don't just go miss everything. Respect every frame, because if you don't respect it, you can lose by 2 pins, 3 pins. And I was like, wow, like, I didn't expect this. And the way you think and the way you mature through your mental game is so crucial to then your success on tours.
Mm.
We spoke to Russell Sample just a few weeks ago about this, and I made a comment to him. I said that the mental game and the whole idea of sort of right mental attitude is in the UK is not really that popular, whereas in the States everybody's got a shrink or something like that. You've got a shrink in this country. People think there's something wrong with you, but the Americans have got much better idea of what it means to have the right sort of mental attitude, not just in sport, but in anything. But I think in the UK that doesn't happen quite so much. So I don't know what your experience of that is.
I think in America it's so different. Like the atmosphere, the culture out there is so different. Like you think about it, you got the PBA Junior now, so they're making TV. They're making TV shows. Well, not TV, like TV shows at like 16, 17 years old. They are way more ahead of what they were a generation back. Like how they do it in America is just different culture, a different breed, and you have to learn quick if you want to try and get out there. And I just think in England, it's really dependent on YBC's pushing that mental side of it, like staying strong in the head. Like I think in America and in Europe, they really push that. They push in the clubs and the YBCs and things like that how to really push out how to stay strong mentally. And I don't think we tap into that quite rightly, but I think it's looking the right way soon. I think it's going to be good soon. There's some good talent coming up, so hopefully.
What about the transition from youth bowling to adult bowling? I mean, how did you find that? Because it's they're two completely different things in many respects, aren't they?
Well, I guess it's difficult. Like with with like youth bowling, we don't score as much as the adults do. So say if someone has 1500, we're all like, yeah, fair, like well done, like this is awesome to see. But in an EBT, you have 1500, someone's just had 1540. It's like, okay, you've got to turn on every game, every block, every time. Like I had 1370 something, 170 something for like 3 different blocks in France last a few months ago. I didn't qualify. I was like 199 over to make the cut. Like that showed me I need to work hard. I need to be better. I play too many squads here to not make the cut. And I think it showed me there's a different level I need to get to now to make that massive jump.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of went away and trained as hard as I could.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, year on year, it gets harder. You take on more challenges. I mean, you're the youngest ESBT winner. You're pushing to win EBTs next year and ongoing. You've also won the junior Welsh, Irish, English, Scottish. I don't know. I feel like I've missed one, but you won all of them in a season. I mean, you've been on fire at points, and I think what sort of motivates you to keep pushing forward and keep improving and breaking boundaries.
I can't lie. I'm going to be realistic. Is making PBA majors, and
I think money's a big factor.
yeah, keeping my family healthy and under a roof. As long as I can keep my family okay, as long as I can turn around and go, yeah, here's a new car, or here's this. I know like the top echelon make that type of money, but for me, nah, like that's my goal to go. And people turn around when I walk into a bowl and go, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like 50 years. I don't know how many years. I hope it's not that long, but you know what I mean? I want to win majors. I want to be a PBA pro. I want to make it my life. So,
you were offered a scholarship from SCAD in Savannah, Georgia.
Yes.
How did that come about?
I think, oh God, pre-COVID, about 2019, 2018, I was in Holland, and one of their scouts actually were out there with them, all everyone to scout and things like that. And he pulled me to one side and was like, "When you turn 18, like we're gonna hit you up and we're gonna want you to come out here and so on. You're an amazing bowler." And I was like 15, 16. I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you." Not meaning much of it because being 15, 16 years old, you got to wait like 3-4 years or 2-3 years, and they're not gonna know you. Like it could be a whole different regime. So about actually, to be fair, the day after EYC, so I was on my way home. I sat in the airport waiting in the lounge, and they messaged me like, "Hi, we're so and so from Scadsett Manor. I wanna bring you over. I want you to come play for us." Da-da-da. And we had a long conversation, but I didn't go because I was like, I'm not going to go to uni in England. I understand it's really, really good, and some people want to go, like Izzy Allen, Rian did, Izzy Fletcher now, and a few others who want to go after that. I was like, yeah, fair play. You do that. If you're going to go uni in England, you're going to go uni there, and you're going to have that life. Fair play. It wasn't for me. I just wanted to make the money. It's not really make the money quicker, but like I wanted to have the taste of winning EBTs and have that taste of trying to make my own way. And yeah, and like Dom did the same, and a few others did the same, and that's what I want to do.
I think speaking to you, there's a sort of the quiet confidence in yourself that you're like, you don't want to go to college because you know that you're good. You're good enough to compete, and you don't want to spend 4 years out there. While you might be out there, but competing at levels that like collegiate level, you want to push yourself to compete against the best now, and you're capable of doing that, and you think that you kind of want to do that instead of wasting. Or not wasting, but spending 4 years.
Yeah, it's not wasting. No, it's not wasting. It's more spending the time that I can go play. I don't know. In that time, I could play 30 EBTs, and I could be like, okay, I've won. I don't know. This is like 5 of them, but I've learned every single time why I'm here and how close I am to making it. Where a collegiate level, I'm not saying bowling in a team is bad, but like you're bowling in a team every week in, week out, and everything. You're bowling, but then when you get to this, is what I've always thought, when you get to per se PBA, you bowl 95%, 98% of the time on your own. Like what? You've got the Rough Holman doubles, and I think that's the only doubles event.
Yeah.
Oh, and PBA League. Okay, at the end of the year, which is a new thing. So apart from them 2 things, you're bowling week in, week out, 3 months off, 3 months on at a time, on your own, in a hotel room, on your own or with your friend, eating hotel food. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to have that experience and that life of bowling, and if I win an event, I can go, yeah, I just won $6,000. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
It's a big thing for me as well. I mean, obviously not the level you're at, but this year I'm kind of moving away from bowling in England or like bowling youth level England to try and move into like youth level Europe or adult level in England, because the way I see it is at the level you're at now, even though bowling isn't so popular in England, the level is so up here. If you want to win, you like youth top division, you're gonna have to bowl at least over 200 average at least. But then by doing that, you might win a trophy, and that's about it. Where the way I see it, as much as bowling, is a great thing to do, you have to look at the way to subsidize the cost and expenses it's going to cost. So I sort of looked at it and went, well, if you spend a year bowling in England and don't do much, then you've just spent a year doing the same thing you've done for the past 9 years. Where if you go to Europe and you bowl, 7 yets and you don't, you maybe make 50 euros, 100 euros there. Yeah, you probably spent about the same amount of money than it would cost you at Dunstable 20 times a year. And I think obviously you've got the experience as well. You make, new connections, bowling harder stuff. You learn a lot more. But also, it's you're at a high level and you're pushing yourself, you're out there more. And if I'm gonna have to average 200 anyway to do anything at youth level, I may as well play a higher level event like an ESBT. And if I do average 200, then one, I've done it on a harder pattern against harder players, and I might not come first, but in the grand scheme of things, me coming 15th or 14th in an EBT, in EBT or ESBT or anything like that, is going to be better than coming first in a BTBA event, in my opinion. But
but it's not the BTBA or anything. It's not that. It's just youth events as a whole is a bit more like less money orientated and more trophy orientated, if I guess you can say, to really like make them like, oh, I got this trophy, got this trophy, this trophy. You know what I mean? And I think in the adult level, it starts to turn into, I need to make some money now, and that's why the money's there.
It's a cut-off point between you'll bowl youth events, and then you get to an age where it's now, oh, my parents aren't paying for all, I have to look at how I'm going to afford to pay it. And that's when people either stop bowling or they take the next step up. And a lot of people who are even really good bowlers all get to that point and go, well, they just lack the they might lack the self-confidence to sort of be like, well, I don't think I can compete there. So they kind of stop bowling. But then some people take the step up and go, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. I'm making a career out of it nowadays. But I think, just before we got on to you and ADR, I want to ask you, you bowled your, while unsanctioned, it's still a 300. You bowled your first 300 at 12. Now, that for me, obviously it's the youngest in England to bowl 300. That to me is mental. I've been painfully close to 300 multiple times. But you're now on 17?
16.
17 next week, Sure.
Oh, I've had two 299s in the last 2 weeks, so we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, so what was it like bowling your first 300? On that last shot, what went through your mind on the last shot?
To be honest, okay, I'm a bit realistic. It was like 6 years ago, so it's gonna be like a bit touchy if I remember. But like, I think the first 2 games I had 140 and 150. Yeah, because I didn't bowl for like 4 days. I had a 4-day break. Because about a week before that was my birthday, and I had like a long break, and I was like, yeah, awesome. I had like 140, 150. My mum and dad went and sat in the bar. I got to like front 8, and someone walked over, and my mum and dad went, he's on front 8. And I was like, what? Came over, and started watching. I struck, and I walked up to my dad, and like about 4 days before that, he said, or 5 days, he went, maybe a couple of months actually. He went, if you get a 300, first 300 will give you £300. On that 9th or 10th shot, I walked up to him and I just went, give me more money now. Like, I didn't expect it, but I was like, yeah, I can have my money now. And he was like, oh, go get it then. kind of like sat down and I stood up, took my shot, struck, and I was like, oh my god, I won 10 in a row. Struck again. I was like, I won 11 in a row. And I was like, if I get one more, I could buy an Xbox game. Yeah, man, 300 quid. And then I stepped up, I struck. I was like really lucky. I kind of like threw it really slow and got it really far out. And then I struck. I just went crazy. I was like, wait, I just got 300. And I got 300 quid.
Yeah.
Winning.
But yeah, we'll move on to ADR, and then we'll go through ADR. Then we'll do. I'm trying to start this new thing, quick fire questions, and then we'll be done.
Oh, God, okay, yeah.
So obviously, your dad owns ADR, and they sponsor the podcast, and links in the description, etc. And they sponsor a few bowlers. Izzy Fletcher, Colin, Sean, you. There's a plethora of bowlers that are sponsored by ADR. So how did that come about, and what's your part in it?
I don't really have. I do have a part in it, like of just like bowling well, hopefully to get more shirts bought. But I don't have a lot. It's all my dad, to be honest with you. Like he does everything. He does it for. He kind of looked. I can't lie. He looked at the prices of bowling shirts, and he was like, "This is expensive. I can do this cheaper." And he was like, "I want to do this for the bowlers. I want to do this for." I don't know, you 3 years ago, me years and years and years ago. He just wanted them to have an affordable shirt that's good and happy. And that's what he wanted to do it for. And that's what he's done. And he's built a good base, a good ground of players. And it's not, I don't really say everybody wears one, but like you can kind of pick out there's a lot of ADR, a lot of striker shirts are mint in the UK. In Sweden, ADR starting to pick up in Sweden a little bit more. It's really, really good, and I'm really glad that it's at where it is now, and it's only going bigger as the players we get and the players we do and things like that.
What's ADR stand for?
Adrenaline. He's simple. He's a simple man. He just said, yeah, let's call it adrenaline. He had a couple others before. He had Core Apparel, as in like the bowling core, so Core Apparel. What else did he have? He had something else. White City, I think it was. And there was one more. I cannot remember what it was called. But like he just had so many, and then he kind of stepped away from a company, and he was like, call it Adrenaline. And then after Adrenaline, he called it ADR. And then because people couldn't, like, it took too long for Adrenaline to be put onto a thing that's just too long. So I was like, I'll just call it ADR.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to like some quick fire questions, okay? So
yep.
What's your favorite bowling ball at the moment?
That's not quick fire. That's Venom Shock.
Venom Shock. If you can bowl doubles with one person in the world, who is it?
EJ Tackett.
EJ Tackett. You get one shot to make a TV show. What's going through your head?
Don't miss, please strike, and stay centered, stay calm.
Okay. You have a 10 pin left on the deck. You have one player in the world you can pick to make that 10 pin. If it misses, you die. Who you picking to take it?
Waterway or Norm Duke.
Fair enough. Right, you did pretty well. I'll try and build up some more, but that's all I have for now. Final question from me. What can we expect to see from you in the future?
Hopefully a lot of wins. I guess a lot of wins. Like I want to win bad. I want an EBT win so bad. Like I saw the win that Ben Robinson, the 2 wins. And I was like, I want those too. I want those bad. I was like, yeah, he's got what I want, and he's done so well. And I'm like, yeah, I want that now. I want that. And then after that, I want to go to Asia. I want to win there. And I want to go to PBA. I want to win there. Bad. I want to win everything. But it's not how it works. But yeah, my wish is PBA major, I guess.
So, where can people sort of find you if they're wanting to check you out?
Instagram. Just started a YouTube. Dan Harding YouTube.
By me.
Yeah. of course. Facebook, obviously, always Facebook. And TikTok. There you go.
Dan, thanks very much for your time. It's been interesting. Learned a lot about you, certainly things that I didn't know. And we do appreciate you coming on the Spare Time podcast. That ends this Spare Time podcast. If you've enjoyed watching it, you can subscribe and like with the link below, wherever it is. I don't know where it is, but you can find it. And we'll be back again for another edition of the Spare Time podcast. And of course, we'd like to thank ADR for sponsoring this one. Goodbye.